Damn!
Hello, how's everybody doing today? Welcome to Film Archives, where we break down movies. My name is Dennis, and I upload 1 to 2 times a week, so make sure to hit that subscribe button, help your boy out. Today, we're going to be breaking down 2022 Bullet Train. This movie was directed by David Leitch, and it stars Brad Pitt as an assassin working a job in Japan on board, you guessed it, a bullet train. Without further ado, let's just break down the movie so we can answer the question, was it worth watching? So the movie starts out with a scene of a man named the Father. We'll learn his name a little bit later, but for now, we'll just call him the Father. He's visiting his injured son in the hospital, who has been pushed off a roof, so he's severely injured and in critical condition. The father is being criticized by the boy's grandfather, so the father's father, and he's kind of criticizing him, letting him know he's a bad dad. He should have been there to prevent him from falling off the roof. Right away, we could tell that the grandfather is a badass because of the actor. It's Hiroyuki Sanada. He's from The Last Samurai. Super badass guy. We then get a shot of Tokyo, and it looks pretty damn sweet, I gotta say. Then we're introduced to Brad Pitt's character. His name is Ladybug, and he's currently on the phone with his handler, the person who gives him all his jobs and stuff. And we find out that he's an assassin, but he only does snatch and grab jobs now because he doesn't believe in violence. He's got a therapist named Barry now. He's changed his ways. He's no longer an assassin. He's just a snatch and grabber for hire. The handler's, kind of telling him that he's filling in for another person, so it should just be a simple job. He needs to just get on a bullet train, grab a briefcase, and get right off. But he's filling in for one of his coworkers, one of his fellow assassins named Carver. He has a stomach flu, so he couldn't do the job. So, Brad Pitt reluctantly agrees. So, Ladybug is making his way to the train station, and he bumps into the father real briefly. They briefly bump into each other, and he makes his way to the train station locker where he has all his supplies. He's got a gun in there. He's got like some sleeping powder and some firecrackers and stuff like that. And, he refuses to take the gun because of Barry, his therapist, tells him that violence is bad. But, the handler on the phone is like, dude, just take the gun. You're going to need it. And he's like, it's a simple snatch and grab job. I'm not going to need it. I'm just getting a briefcase and I'm getting right off. He grabs everything but the gun and climbs on board the train. The father also boards the train, and he's making his way up to first class. He has a note in his hand that says, I pushed your son. Come find me in seat B4. And he arrives there, and it's just a young girl, so he's confused. But she's like, no, it was me, and just tasers him in the neck. It's pretty funny. Ladybug's on the phone with his handler, who informs him that the briefcase has a train sticker on the handle, so it should be pretty easy to find. So he goes through the luggage, and he does indeed find the briefcase that he is looking for. So then we're introduced to 2 English gentlemen. They refer to themselves as Lemon and Tangerine. They're a bit odd and eccentric, but they're pretty funny. They kind of make the movie. They're being paid to return a Russian crime boss's son and his briefcase full of money, a briefcase with a train sticker on the handle, the same briefcase that Ladybug, Brad Pitt, is after. They start arguing about how many people they killed to rescue the crime boss's son. You get some funny banter. It's pretty cool. They then basically explain that a huge, 6'6" guy from Russia has come to Japan, and a while back he basically infiltrated the Yakuza criminal underworld and basically now controls it. He took it over from within, and he's super bad news, super brutal guy, and he has just no remorse for killing people whatsoever. And they call him the White Death.
Yo, why is he looking at me like that? What's up, little bud? You got a staring problem, pal?
Like what, dude? He's just looking at you. He's a baby.
Look at his face. Dumb little face.
Stop.
Yo, Zan, get your boy, dog.
Then we get a cool little scene of the White Death himself, who's just completely unhinged. He's going through and taking over the Yakuza and, playing Russian roulette while he's doing so. So it's a pretty cool scene, to be honest. Pretty cool. So then we go to the father, who wakes up from being tasered in the neck, and we learn that his name is actually Yuichi Kimura and that he works for the White Death. So the girl introduces herself to Yuichi, and she goes by Little Prince. She says it in Russian, however, so I'm not even going to attempt to massacre that. She also takes Yuichi's gun, and she booby traps it with the bomb. So if he does wind up firing it, it will explode in his face. Now remember this, because it will become important later. She basically blackmails Yuichi into killing the White Death for her, and if he doesn't do this, or doesn't comply in any way, she'll send one of her thugs and jabronis at the hospital to go finish off his son that she pushed off the roof. It's really brutal stuff. So Tangerine finds out that someone has taken their briefcase, and he kind of informs Lemon that they're super boned, that he's probably going to get killed now because they don't have the White Death's briefcase full of $10 million doll hairs. So it's getting pretty out of control. So Lemon and Tangerine go back to their seats, and they see that suddenly the White Death's son has been murdered somehow. So now they're double boned because they don't have the briefcase full of money, and they don't have the White Death's son. Meanwhile, Ladybug is trying to exit the train at the very first stop, but he's kind of blocked at the entrance by someone known as the Wolf. Bad Bunny plays this guy. He's pretty cool. He's got like a septum ring. He's like drinking Coronas. He's pretty hardcore guy. He's basically like the Hispanic version of me and stuff. The Wolf tries killing Ladybug because he recognizes him from his wedding where everybody was assassinated at, and he kind of just is like, you're a part of this, so I'm going to kill you. They get into a brief fight, and Ladybug winds up blocking the knife that the Wolf is throwing. It accidentally ricochets, and it kind of kills the Wolf. So he's only in the movie very briefly, but pretty good scene. So Tangerine is looking for the briefcase. He's making his way up and down the train. He kind of briefly runs into Ladybug, not realizing he has the case, but he asks Little Prince, have you seen anyone, come through here with the briefcase with a train sticker on the handle? And she immediately is like, yeah, it was that guy, in the bucket hat and, the thick glasses, describing Ladybug. Meanwhile, Ladybug decides to confront his Tangerine's partner, Lemon, and he recognizes him from an earlier job. He kind of offers a peace offering. Hey, I'll give you the case. Just don't kill me. I've changed my ways. I have a therapist named Barry now, and I believe in inner peace. And Lemon, mistakenly thinking that Ladybug has murdered the White Death's son, and he's like, no deal, I would have taken the deal, but you had to go and kill someone. And they have a mix-up, because the Wolf had died earlier, so Ladybug thinks he's talking about the Wolf when Lemon's talking about the White Death's son. So they're both kind of like, well, I'm sorry about that, but it is what it is. Lemon and Ladybug start fighting right there, and they're on the quiet car, so it's a super funny fight scene where they're just beating each other up, and this lady keeps turning around and keeps shushing them. So they keep, just like stopping mid-fight and are like, yeah, sure, we're not doing anything wrong. Ladybug gets the upper hand on him, and then, puts like the sleeping powder in Lemon's water, and then kind of just walks away. He then runs into Magic Mike and offers him like $200. This is a really funny scene, but he's like, yeah, I'll give you $200 if you wear my hat and glasses. And, Channing Tatum, Magic Mike, he's like, is this like a sex thing?
Hey, bro, wanna make an easy $200?
Was this like a sex thing?
And he's like, no, just wear my hat and glasses as a distraction. So then, Tangerine comes running through the train looking for Ladybug, and he thinks he's sitting there in the seat, and, he's kind of duped at that point, and Ladybug makes his little escape there. So Ladybug leaves the briefcase, he kind of just ditches it and then starts hiding in the bathroom. It's really funny. But Tangerine finds Ladybug hiding in the bathroom and just attacks him right away. And suddenly, he's getting a phone call, and Ladybug's like, maybe you should take that.
You gonna get that? No! Probably ought to get that.
And it's, of course, the White Death. And he's like, hey, you haven't gotten off when I've told you to get off with my briefcase and my son. So if you don't get off at the next stop, we're going to kill everybody on board the bullet train. So then we get a scene where Ladybug helps Tangerine out and pretends to be his brother Lemon, and kind of tricks them into thinking they have the briefcase still.
Have you opened the case?
Nah, of course not. Do you know what? I never asked for the combination.
Yeah. So no one gets greedy.
And it's really funny, but he like holds up the briefcase and it opens, and a bunch of like dildos and freaking panties fly out. It's ridiculous. But at this point, the White Death knows that they don't have the money and they don't have his son, so he's out for blood. But Yuichi and the Little Prince, they find the briefcase, and they take hold of it knowing that it belongs to the White Death, and they kind of rig it with bombs and all this stuff. So then Ladybug goes back to the Wolf's body and decides to find out who was he here to actually kill, because he wasn't the one who assassinated his wife at the wedding. So he wants to find out who it actually was. Turns out it was someone called the Hornet, who we saw earlier, but she was in a mascot disguise, so we didn't recognize her. But she's an assassin, and she's also the one that's responsible for killing the White Death's son by poisoning him. So she's a super bad lady. She walks right up behind Ladybug and starts attacking him, and they have like a little showdown. It's pretty cool. She tries stabbing Ladybug with the poison, and then Ladybug, pulls out the knife and then poisons her right away, so hoping she has an antidote. And then, quick thinking, he steals the antidote from her and then gives it to himself, and she dies like a super brutal death. It's really brutal stuff. So Lemon goes to look for Tangerine, and he accidentally bumps into the little prince and Yuichi in the process, and he asks them both, have you seen anyone with a case around here? And they're like, oh, we haven't seen a briefcase. And he's like, well, I didn't mention a briefcase, so how did you know I was talking about a briefcase? And he's really good at reading people because he watched a lot of Thomas the Tank Engine, so that's the explanation they give. It's pretty funny, I'm not gonna lie, but he knows that they're lying, and he's like, well, one of you is the diesel, you're a diesel engine and you're running around here and you're causing all kinds of shit. One of you better fess up and point to who's actually doing it, and if you both point, I know you're both lying, so I'll just shoot you both. And Yuichi, trying to protect his son, decides he's not going to point at all, so the little prince of course points at Yuichi, and then bang bang, Yuichi gets shot. It's pretty sad, to be honest, but he's just trying to protect his son and, not have the jabroni at the hospital kill him. Meanwhile, Lemon hasn't realized that he's been drinking the water that Ladybug put a bunch of the sleeping powder in, so he just passes out right after he shoots Yuichi, and the little prince takes his gun and then just blasts the heck out of Lemon, and then she hides both of their bodies in the bathroom. It's pretty gnarly. Tangerine then finds Yuichi and Lemon's bodies in the bathroom, and he just assumes that Ladybug murdered them both, but we get a little flashback of, Lemon and Tangerine growing up together when they were younger, so it's a pretty sad moment, to be honest. So he picks up Lemon's gun and, kind of turns around and runs into the little prince, who is just standing outside the door, and he asks if you've seen, the guy with the bucket hat and the glasses, and she's like, yeah, he was holding me captive, and he killed those two men and all that, and, starts playing him for a fool, starts fake crying and all that. He then sees a diesel sticker that Lemon, before he died, had stuck on to Little Prince, so he's like, oh no, this girl's the diesel, so I'm just gonna kill her. It was definitely this one who's been running around here causing all kinds of and then Ladybug shows up and he's like, hey, don't kill that little girl, what are you doing? And he tries to wrestle the gun away from Tangerine, and he accidentally winds up shooting him in the neck, and Tangerine just bleeds out and dies. It's a pretty ghastly scene, to be honest. Super brutal stuff. So Little Prince convinces Ladybug to stay on the train, telling her that there's bad men in Kyoto at the end of the line that are trying to kill her and hurt her, and she needs someone to protect her and stuff like that. We then see the bullet train make its final stop before heading to the final station of Kyoto, and on board comes Yuichi's grandfather, Hiroyuki Sanada. He boards the train, and like I said earlier, we could already tell this guy's a badass. He's got a super sick cane, and he walks on board the train and he takes his seat right next to Ladybug and the little prince. Hiroyuki Sanada is just credited as the elder, so that's what I'm just going to call him going forward. So the elder sits right next to them, and he overhears their conversation, and he recognizes the little prince's voice from an earlier phone call that he had made to his son. So Ladybug kindly asks if the elder could move to another spot, and the elder says, no, I'm not moving, so Ladybug's like, oh, I'll just grab our things and we'll move to another spot, no problem. And he gets bit by a snake that he had let out earlier from the assassin. So yeah, there's snakes on the train. It's pretty brutal stuff.
I have had it with these snakes on this plane.
But he gets bit, and luckily he had already taken the antidote, so he's kind of immune to the poison. But he runs off to the bathroom and kind of locks the snake into the toilet. Meanwhile, Little Prince and the elder are having a conversation, and he's like, I know it was you who pushed my son, but why did you do it? She basically explains that she needed Yuichi to kill the White Death for her, so that's why she pushed his son off the roof. And Little Prince, trying to be the mastermind, threatens the elder and is like, well, I'll just call my jabroni like I threatened your son with earlier, and we'll have him kill your grandson. But then we have a plot twist, and the elder's like, do you really think I would keep my son unattended and unguarded after he was assaulted and pushed off of a department store roof? You're crazy. He has guards. So we then get a scene of a literal manhunt from PS2. the nurse just grabs a plastic bag and puts it over the jabroni's head and just freaking slits his throat right then and there. Pretty G'd up stuff. It's brutal. It's real Bompton style murder, you know? So the elder and the little prince, you know, they have a brief conversation, and the elder's basically like, you didn't kill my son. Trust me, I know. Little prince gets scared and runs away like a little bitch. We then find out that Yuichi is indeed still alive, and we also find out that Lemon was wearing a bulletproof vest and actually just fell asleep from the sleeping powder, so it just appeared that he was dead, but he's also still alive. So the elder tells Ladybug that he used to work for the old Yakuza before the White Death took over, and during the White Death's takeover, he basically narrowly escaped and barely survived, but the White Death killed like his wife and attempted to kill Yuichi, his son. So the elder wants vengeance, and he asks Ladybug if he can help him, you know, get his son off the train alive, and if fate wills it, maybe take revenge on the White Death. So now we have Lemon, Ladybug, the Elder, and Yuichi. They're all on the train, and they're ready to confront the White Death. They get into some arguments because Lemon is pretty upset that Ladybug accidentally killed his brother Tangerine, but, you know, they get over it. So the train eventually stops, and we see that the White Death has like an entire army of Yakuza thugs ready to just kill everybody on there. Little Prince comes out and confronts the White Death herself, and we learn that this is actually her dad, and she just is like a spoiled little brat and wants to kill him because she didn't get enough attention from father when she was growing up. It's really stupid. I didn't like that part of the movie, I'm not gonna lie. Prince points the booby trap gun that she took from Yuichi earlier at her dad, the White Death, hoping that he'll take it away from her and kind of fire it at her and, you know, causing the explosion to go off in his face, killing the White Death. But instead, he just puts it in his back pocket. Now remember that, because it will come back into play a little bit later. They ask Lemon to go try to start the train so they can kind of, you know, leave the station and make their escape. So it turns out that the White Death hired all of the people on the train, hoping they would kill each other. But, you know, it turns out that the twins, Lemon and Tangerine, they butchered an entire crew of the White Death in Bolivia some time ago, so he had to go out there and handle that, leaving his wife at home alone. While he was away, an assassin attempted to kill him by crashing a car into him, but instead it just killed his wife. I guess his wife was going to go bail their son out of jail, so he hired the Hornet to kill his own son, which is really just gnarly. And the Hornet also poisoned the surgeon that was supposed to do surgery on his wife and save her life. I guess Carver, the person that Ladybug is covering for, was driving the car. It's a little cameo by Ryan Reynolds, actually. It's pretty funny. But he was driving the car, so he just assumes that Ladybug was the one driving the car and, you know, killed his wife. So he basically hired them all so they could all die on the train. It's really brutal. So Ladybug gives the case to two random Yakuza, and they take it off the train to go open it and check to see if the money's still inside. And little do they know that there was a bomb in there from the Little Prince way earlier, and it explodes, causing a massive explosion. Yuichi and the Elder kind of use this opportunity to open up a can of whoop-ass, you know, and they start fighting, and, you know, he has his cane sword, so he starts getting into a sword fight with the White Death, and there's a couple jabronis on the train, so they kill all those guys, and it's just mayhem. It's friggin' madness, you know. Pretty good scene. You get the Elder just going friggin' gamer hammer mode, dude. Just like totally berserk. While all this is going down, the train starts to speed out of control, so Ladybug and Lemon decide, you know what, we're gonna go find the brakes and we're gonna stop this. While they're doing that, they start getting shot at by some of the Yakuza thugs that are still left on board the train, and Lemon decides, you know what, you either live long enough to see yourself become the villain or you die the hero, and he just, you know, tackles the guy out the window and asks Ladybug to find the brakes to stop the train. While this is going down, the Elder and the White Death are also having like a super gnarly sword fight. The Elder eventually gets his sword stuck in the side of the train, so the White Death gets like the upper hand on him, and he pulls out a gun, and, you know, he's like, does some crazy ass shit. I'm not even gonna lie, but he's like, you know what, for old time's sake, let's play Russian roulette and we'll see who lives and who dies here. But, you know, right as he's about to finish him, Yuichi throws the water bottle from earlier that Lemon was drinking. He throws it right at his head, and at the same time, Ladybug manages to find the brakes. He pulls them, and, you know, it causes the train to completely shift, and everyone gets thrown off balance, and the train starts like careening out of control at this point. It's like a crazy train going off the tracks, and eventually winds up crashing, you know, and we get like a super sick CGI slow-mo scene. It's very nice, but it winds up crashing into like a nearby neighborhood. Everybody manages to stay okay on board of the train, you know, like Brad Pitt, Ladybug, he crashes into the mascot suit from earlier, and All the rest of them are kind of banged up, but they're still okay. And the White Death is still alive at this point. You know, he comes walking out of the train wreckage and he's got a sword stuck in him still, but you know, he's still chucking along, and he's like, you know what, at the very least I'm going to kill Carver because he's the one who was driving the car that killed my wife. So he starts going over to Ladybug, and Brad Pitt's like, bro, I'm not Carver, just let it go, bro.
It's a mistake. I'm not Carver. Just let it go, bro.
And he's like, do not call me, bro. So he pulls out the gun from earlier that he took from Prince, and it explodes in his face, causing him to die. It's really brutal stuff. Right after that, we see Prince walk out of the wreckage as well, and you know, she's kind of like, you know what, everything went according to my plan, and I have the best luck in the world. And then right as she says that, she gets totally mean-girled and gets hit by a truck that's passing by. It's super hilarious.
Is that karma?
Eventually, Ladybug's handler shows up in person, and we find out that it's Sandra Bullock, and she's driving like a super sick whip, dude. But it's really cool. But yeah, the car winds up getting squished by like some wreckage. It's pretty funny. It's funny how luck works in this movie. And that's the end of the movie. Was it worth watching? Absolutely. The music was super good. The writing was pure genius. All the stories between the characters, you know, came together really well. And there was just some really funny, hilarious parts in the script and the dialogue, particularly Tangerine and Lemon. They kind of stole the show for me. So I would definitely watch this movie again. And if you haven't seen it, you should definitely give it a watch. All right, that will do it for this video. If you guys like what you saw, please remember to hit the like button down there. Help your boy out. And until next time, peace!
Wow, it's very nice.